Welcome back, everyone. In this video, we are going to discuss why this is the moment in history to build a new civilization. Because we have amazing opportunities to do so, but we also have a ticking time bomb if we don't do it. I truly believe the next 5 years are going to be the most important in human history. And it's up to our generation. And with generation, I mean everyone from 18 or 16 all the way to 99, the people who live right now, to pull this off and do something really, really important. So before we jump into how we do this and what the key levers are to get there, I think it's important to recognize the risks we are facing as a civilization right now. And I will tell you just a few things that I'm seeing that are really, really concerning if we don't do anything about it. Number one, no surprise, artificial intelligence and technological development. Why I'm a big fan of technology. AI is a pivotal point in human history, because for the first time, we will build machines that vastly exceeds the human mind in all respects, in logical thinking, in math and science, but also in creativity, in art, in everything. And maybe some people don't get it yet, but the speed that this is happening is mind-boggling. I actually believe in 2025, we will have AGI. We will have systems that are vastly smarter than most people. And from there, it's just a question of a couple of years or a few years before we will have artificial superintelligence. There is a competitive situation going on that makes it impossible to stop that. You can never stop technology. And we better get our stuff together and control this new force. Otherwise, it will control us one way or the other. It's incredibly dangerous. Next thing, geopolitically, completely independent of the AI angle, we see tectonic shifts in the world order that cannot be easily stopped or cannot be stopped at all. The US is losing its sole superpower status it achieved in 1990 or 1991. And we are going now into regional conflicts in regional power centers like Russia, like China, maybe Europe, like India. Now, I don't know if that's a bad thing or not, but it creates a lot of risks because it will create regional power struggles between these superpowers. And when you blend it with AI, it will accelerate the military AI race. It will accelerate all kinds of things that are designed for conflict. And if we don't have a vision of the future, a unifying approach, and if we don't accumulate power in new power centers that actually help us to create authority and order in the world, we will have a giant problem. Next thing, we have massive social problems, especially in the United States. But as always, they're going to come to Europe very soon. Number one, health. RFK Jr. talks about this, and he's absolutely right. It's great to have a political player in the field that points out the enormous health crisis. When you look at diabetes, when you look at obesity, when you look at how many people are sick, it's not a little bit of a problem. There was an explosion of unprecedented proportions in terms of chronic diseases in the United States. As RFK said, the cost for chronic diseases in the 60s or 70s was $0. Now it's exceeding $3 trillion a year, and it's killing the entire economy and the government. Most importantly, it's killing people. It's killing our fellow citizens. It's not normal that the entire country is obese or overweight, and it's not just your personal discipline that is the problem. There is a much deeper problem here that needs to be fixed in the food supply chain, the way we deal with pharma and medication, the medical system. They are fundamentally broken in the most dangerous way. We have a mental health epidemic. That is a confluence between the health epidemic and social media and some other things and the deterioration of society. We'll get into this in a minute. We have a complete implosion of love and relationships, replacement rates and babies. This is a strategic problem, personally for all of us, but also for our civilization. We will die out in the most horrible way if we don't fix this. Connected to that, our communities are broken. Fake approach of saying diversity is our strength and injecting every community with something that distorts all communities of all types is terrible and has led to isolation, to depression, to anxiety. So these problems need to be fixed. And then finally, the mind virus, our favorite topics, our leadership, our elites, our media systems is completely infiltrated by a weird virus that tells us to basically kill ourselves. And that has to stop. Fortunately, that is already on the decline. We see some, evolution there. But we have to learn from that. It's a terrible disease that's very dangerous. So these are the risks, right, that we are facing. And maybe many of us behave like the frogs in the boiling water. I don't know if you know that example of the frog's sitting in a warm pot of water that is on a stove. You start heating the water and the frog gets boiled alive, even though they could jump out of the water pot, because it's gradually getting warmer and not immediately getting hotter. So the frog never realized it's too hot. That's how we are being cooked right now in the civilization, right? We are sitting, it's like, well, it's kind of bad, but how bad is it really? And then every year it's getting worse and no one does anything. That's very dangerous. We need to get out of the frog mindset and get into human mindset and say, what the hell is actually happening? We need to do something now. Now, that leads me to the next big point after recognizing these risks we have. And that point that always amazes me when I see this is that no one is home. And with home, I mean the headquarter. Who is home at the headquarter of whatever this is and says, okay, we see the problem. We don't want to die. We don't want to have our kids be evaporated by some imploding civilization. We want to do something. Okay, who's home at the headquarter? No one is home at the headquarter. There is no headquarter. No one is in charge. No one feels in charge. Let's go through the usual suspects who could be in charge. The government. I mean, I don't need to tell anyone that the government is not in charge and doesn't feel in charge. We know that the government is fundamentally corrupted at this point. We know we are not getting anywhere. Both parties are stuck. Yes, I know there's some hope, but let's not overhope ourselves here. We know there is a structural administrative state problem that goes across the board. There's a ridiculously bloated federal government. So it's good to try to fix the government, but let's not put up our hopes too much. People like RFK might have a huge impact on the government, but all you can do there is on the defensive side to have some wins. Make the government stop doing bad and evil stuff. I think that's achievable. But turning the government into something that can actually produce the future, completely forget it. Best case scenario is RFK goes in, fixes the FDA, fixes some other agencies, maybe fixes the CIA. He can fix a bunch of stuff in the sense of make them stop doing evil stuff. But no one can turn it around in a way that it's building the future. Who are the next suspects here who could do something? The billionaires, right? We live in times where we have amazingly smart people who are tech leaders. Zuckerberg, Thiel, Elon is a special. But all these guys who are capable, we know they're very capable, who are very rich, who have giant resources. But when you actually talk to them behind the scenes, when you actually explore in these back rooms what's actually happening, what is so shocking is that most of these guys, if not all of them, have a passive victim mindset when it comes to civilization. They have their bunkers in New Zealand. They're prepping for doomsday. They're saying, ooh, this is really unhinged what's happening. How can I buy a plane and get out of here? Maybe I get a seat on Elon's Starship. But no one is taking a stance. No one is saying, well, no one is home. I need to be home. I need to take charge. I need to assemble the Avengers. And I need to build something new here that is actually a positive vision and a powerfully designed new civilization. No one is doing it. Everyone tries to make another buck here. I have 50 billion. Let's try to make another 10 billion tactically and safe. And when things go down, I'm out of here. That is the wrong attitude. And I'm not blaming anyone. It's natural to think like this, but it has to stop. And we need to start taking the baton, saying, well, if no one is home, we will be home. We will do something about this. Now, that leads me to the one exception I'm seeing, which is Elon. Elon is doing great things because he is truly sacrificing his time, his nerves, his money into things like X. That was clearly a move that was risky and dangerous for him to protect free speech, for example. So Elon shows us that it's possible to take a stance and actually change something. What Elon is also not doing is to devise a real target state, to devise a real plan. What is comprehensively the civilization we want to build? Not just cities on Mars, which is amazing, not just self-driving cars and AI, not just tactically protecting free speech and tactically making sure at least one AI system will be, free and true. That's all great, but it's defensive. It's not crafting a vision of the future and defining a target state we want to build that goes beyond just tactical things. Look at the founding fathers of the United States, for example. These guys did something amazing. It was just a handful of guys. But they thought through what are the foundational principles of a new state. of a target state back then. They came up with happiness, with the right to life, and with freedom and liberty, with free speech. You know the whole thing. And for the time back then, that was an enormous leap. And we owe it to these guys to do the same in our times, where it's so much easier to do all these things. And we have to take it to the next level. It's so much easier, the world today, to organize thousands of smart people or millions of smart people. It's so easy to raise billions or trillions of dollars for the right idea. It's like there in a heartbeat if we do it right. It's so easy to get all the knowledge in the world organized and organize the right smart people to work on these things. But no one is doing it. And that needs to change right now. We need the target state. We need to think about how the state looks like. And I see it as my mission to accelerate that process. And it's my mission to make it also your mission. And everyone out there who thinks this is true and we need to do it, join me and let's discuss it and craft these things. And my contribution to it will be the first 3 videos that are following this video, where we'll talk about the 10 principles of civilization I identified, and everything's up to debate. I hope to get your input on these things, but I will put it out there, the 10 principles of civilization that will help us start constructing the target state. Then the next video, the 7 pillars of the target state. On that, the future will rest. They include cool things like life and health, like love. You know, I believe in babies. Community. Without community, it doesn't work. And some meta pillars like capital, education, culture, but also, of course, governance. So we'll go into that in the second video. And then the third one, the first blueprint of a master plan. How do we build a minimum viable target state? And how do we do so not with some crazy election and trying to get politicians into DC? How do we change our mindset to become pioneers? To do something we can actually do. And to do something that has such a force multiplication that we do not need 300 million people to vote for it in the beginning, but can start lean with high efficiency to build the future. So I hope you're with me. I hope you subscribe, like that video. That will be one of the most important contributions to actually push out this content and aggregate the right people, and then hopefully engage with me over the next few videos. See you then.